Hey, good morning from Walla Walla, Washington, and it's quite early in the morning. It's been very hot out, kind of a heat wave, and I can only get in here in the early morning and stuff. It gets just a little too hot in here during the afternoon. Well, anyway, my project Axelson lathe is officially done. I've got this thing set up in many ways, and it's just a very versatile lathe. I'm trying to narrow down my equipment to basic needs, and I'm trying to get it down to one lathe here, this Axelson. I sold that Monarch there that's covered up. I just didn't have enough use for its special features the way the economy is going and business is closing and stuff like that. So I'm adapting to current conditions, I guess. Well, anyway, let's have a look at something very interesting. It's one of the more rare exotic machine attachments that I know about, and it is the Wohlhaupter UK4 Rotary taper milling head, I believe is the full thing on it. Let's go have a look at that. And I got that in this number 2 Brown Sharpe horizontal milling machine with the sliding vertical head attachment. And I have the vertical head kind of kicked out here because this thing's really complicated, kind of hard to see. So I'll get the camera adjusted good on the tripod and be right back. Okay, I got this machine in neutral here. You can see how this thing's driven. Okay, we'll get right down to it. I hope you're all doing well and staying out of the heat. It's quite hot here. Okay, so here is the UK4 rotary milling head. And at the top here, there's these 2 collars. And where's that little screwdriver? I'll knock this little latch loose here. Now, these collars work independently, okay? So the top collar, when it's not locked in, doesn't do anything, it just spins, but it acts like a back here for fine feet. So hopefully you can see the graduations here. It goes from 0 to 4 thousandths in a turn. And each little mark is half thousandths. So there's a tick mark somewhere here. See if we can find it. Yeah, it's right there. Each division equals half a thousandth of an inch. I have to get a magnifier out here to read some of this stuff, and I keep finding little stuff written. Direction of I believe that says rotation is looking down, would be clockwise, like drilling a hole. So you run this, this is directional, okay, so it doesn't, it's not intended to work in reverse. Now, the odd thing about this is when you want to engage these feeds up here, you can bring this one to 0, then you got this little pin here, you push that in. then it locks both the collars together. It makes it easier to turn. But this is like your rapid traverse. And I'm feeding it, and the direction I've got this feeding, now there's a directional arrow here and it's really hard to see. And I'll highlight it with this marker here. I'm not drawing a very straight line. Okay, this is the direction of the feed. And I have it so it's feeding up and down. And probably the best thing I can do is get the machine running and run this up and down, and then change the direction and get it running horizontally. So it's going to feed vertically here, and I'll be right back for that. Okay, now here's the head here in a 40 taper spindle. It's got a 40 taper shank. And as far as I could tell, most, if not all of these heads had a 40 taper shank. And I will adapt this to other tools. I can tell you that, to other machines. Okay, here is the traveling center block. And it's got 2 axes. And you can see here from this dovetail that, that this would be the horizontal axis on it with that dovetail. Then, let me get this camera loose, we'll look at the bottom here. At the bottom is another dovetail. So it's got a dovetail that'll send it horizontal, and this dovetail that'll feed it vertically. And I've got it in vertical only, and let's feed it out. Let's watch that, this center block here feed outwards. Let me get it in gear. We'll get it rotating a couple hundred RPM or so. Okay. Now I'm going to grab the feed collar, and I want to point out that it's in rapid traverse. And you'll see the blocks are protruding from the end here. See, here it's coming out. Almost at full travel. Okay, it's at full travel. So we fed this center block out, get that back in neutral, all the way. So that's as far as the travel goes. And this little knob right here sets the travel. And I have it on 1.4, which I think is, get the magnifier on there. .4 inches. So when the block here is all the way up here, and it'll travel 1.4 inches or less set by this dial here. Now, this block travels, and you see this black thing here? It's actually like leather or naugahyde or something. It's like a curtain that covers up the works. I see no way to get around the curtain. I don't know what's in there. I was afraid I'd have to disassemble this because it was kind of sticky, but I just like oiled it from every direction I could, and I've got it working real good. Okay, so we got the block extended all the way out. Now let's set it for horizontal feed, and I'll have to run it back. Let me do that. Okay, we'll run that back a ways. Not all the way. Right about there, I think is good. Get this in neutral. And we'll rotate this around and loosen this lock. There's actually 3 locks here, and we'll change the direction of this. Here's our directional arrow. So I'm going to want it to feed horizontally. It was feeding vertically. Let's see if we can switch it over. There's a little knob here that helps. Now you can see, you see that rotating? And I got to get the magnifier. It's got a scale down here to 90 degrees. 0 to 90. Let's see where I am here. 80, 90. This thing's starting to really work good right now. Okay. And we'll lock these. This locks the dial, I believe. Okay. Oh, it's really nice to have this oiled up good. Okay, let's, we'll feed the thing out horizontally. And I'm not sure what direction I'm going, but we'll start this way. Okay, I'm grabbing the collar. And you'll see that start to feed out. Okay, hold on. Okay, that's as far as the travel goes in that direction. Let me get this reversed. Okay. And reverse now. Okay, I'm going to grab the collar and that center block or slide will feed out horizontally. It's in rapid, so it'll do it pretty okay. There it went. Now let's get that back in neutral. We can have a look at this. Okay. So you can see the feed arrow direction. I moved it that way. And you can see the block fed out on the horizontal ways here, these dovetails, right? You can really see it here, that way sticking out. And so it's also got a dovetail that way this way. Now, the odd thing about this is the way this thing works. Now I'm gonna need to run this back, so I'll run that back real quick. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'll run that back till it's about in the middle. That's about right. Okay, let me get this in neutral. Okay, let's set this at 45 degrees. So I'm going to loosen the locks. Get that in there. There we go. Forget that middle one. Okay. So we're going to set this at 45. This thing is working so much better. It was very, very difficult to make this work at all. So I just been oiling it and working it back and forth. Okay, so you can see we're at 45 degrees with the arrow there. And we'll lock these. Okay, this video is just going to be just the basic operating on this. And the exciting videos to come is I'm going to have to make tooling, cutters, brazen carbide cutters, that'll fit in this device. Okay, so I got that set at 45. Those things are locked down. Let's feed it back and forth a little bit. Okay, get it back into that gear. I think we're looking good. Let's feed it the direction it wants to go there. Yeah, this is working out just a whole lot smoother. Okay, let's see what it did. I think it just returned to the top, yeah. Okay, it returned to the beginning. There's a lot of little details about this feed that I haven't got into yet. Okay, so this would be the start. It's going to feed out that way. So you could cut a tape, an inside taper or an outside taper, depending on the location of your tool on the front of this. So let's go ahead and feed that like we're cutting something. There we go. Okay. Okay. You can see it start to come out the end. It's feeding both ways. It's feeding out and to the side to cut a 45-degree angle. Okay. So this device uses the internal feeds and the combination of the two to cut that angle. Nothing tilts in here. It's just got the horizontal and vertical feeds. Now, to be able to find a zero or start at a beginning or to get a good start, it also has this little dial here that's identical to the ones on their boring heads, and you can adjust the location of this with this screw here. So that's like your only adjustment for locating. And it's a little bit tricky and it's a little bit slow. Okay, I'll be back in a second here. Okay, this is just an introduction into this very complicated but very interesting and I think quite useful head. Well, what would you do with it? Well, this is a D13 back plate that I fabricated for the Monarch 10EE lathe. And the one thing I would use this head for is to cut this locating taper for the D1s, for even D16 or bigger. Because this thing, if you wanted to do the whole thing on the jig bore or the milling machine instead of a lathe, which it's actually easier, I think, to make these plates on a milling machine or jig bore using facing heads and the tree boring head I've used an awful lot, the taper boring head, but this is a lot more rigid and heavier than the tree head. And in a future video, I'll operate both of them and kind of get an idea. This is quite a rare item. They've kind of been talked about a little bit over the internet, but I remember old timers talking about these. And I remember a particular machine that was available locally that was a Dixie jig bore. It had one of these with it, with the other Wohlhaupter stuff. And I don't know if the Dixie jig bore had that 40 taper, but that's what this is. And I don't think the shank is interchangeable. I'll probably have to do something radical. We'll have a look at that. I've spent quite a few hours on this, but it's just mostly to get things working smoothly, because when I was first trying to operate it, the clutches would kick out. And Wohlhaupter stuff's kind of different. So when you're feeding angles, this might not move very well. I found that this moves easier. I don't know if you can adjust it. It just seems like it sticks when it's at the full length of travel. So you'd want to run this back halfway, and then the angle can be changed. So even though it's a taper cutting head, you can use it as a facing head for 1.4 inches cut. Oh, that almost gives you a 3-inch diameter that you can spot face. Okay, then you can have it in the vertical mode and do something like bore a hole and without using the quill. So you can bore a hole with it with an inch, 1.4 inches deep, the far its furthest travel, with this adjusted going straight down. Okay, I will be back in a minute. I think I covered the basics, and we'll get into detail of what all of these other buttons and stuff does. We have to make, let me get this loose here. We have to make cutting tools here, because here's the tool end of this thing. 5/8 holes. It looks like they had quite a bit of tooling. I've seen pictures of the kit that came with this, so they had their own ideas and stuff. I'll just make some brazed carbide tools up, and we'll cut some angles with it. Okay, back in a minute. Well, that was a look at one of the most exotic machine attachments, and it'll be fun to explore that quite a bit further. So I got to get back to the tool and cutter grinder here, because I got to make some cutters for that head over there. And plus I got a bunch of stuff I got to do. I have to fix some things on that milling machine there. I'll be back real soon. I've got a couple more videos to make, so you guys have a great day today, okay?